Marlin 41 mag caliber rifle.
Georgia.
There we are. Hello, shooters, loaders, and casters. Welcome to the Georgia Shooting Connection Friday Night live stream. We hope y'all have had a good week. There's people in this world who are already off for until after Thanksgiving, the Monday after Thanksgiving. So to you guys, we say congratulations. So start us off there, CW. How's your week been, brother?
It's been a good week again. I had another good week, and that's tying two together. So it's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. Our deer season opened on Wednesday, and we did good there. We doubled up opening morning, and you all have probably seen my video by now. I saw a nice buck on Thursday and let him walk. Today we butchered deer. It's been a good day. I made 10 pounds of sausage. So it's a good day. Hillbilly, how'd your week go?
Man, mine's been done just wonderful. Foot's getting better down to one crutch, so I'm ready to get back out to the range, man. It's been driving me nuts. We've had some great weather here, and it's aggravating not to be able to get out there and shoot. But I do have videos that I had already done and got those coming up, and just really having a great time watching everybody else's channels this last week or so. So, man, thank you so much for having me here. Love Friday nights. Chris, what you been up to, buddy?
It's been a good day. I've been working with a couple different companies that I'm going to start doing some reviews and stuff for, and then starting to get my SHOT Show stuff ready, getting my interviews planned out, so when I get out there, I'm not just running around not knowing what I'm doing. So been talking with a couple companies this week, getting everything scheduled. But yeah, I've been looking forward to coming on here all day, man. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to turn it over to Gene.
How y'all doing? I was typing in the side chat. Oh, let's see. Been busy at work this last week. I got my new scope from Vector Optics in. I've been looking at that. Got it mounted. Got a video coming out with that on the tabletop, and then mounting it on the gun. I didn't show mounting it, just it on the gun. Yeah, been a really good week. Other than that, that's it, man. Walter, what you got over there, buddy?
Hey, well, the week started off good on Monday morning when I was at the range, but before I got off the range, things went south. I tripped and face planted into a wood frame target stand and broke my kneecap, and the right side of my face got a bunch of new holes in it that weren't there Sunday. So that's why you're not going to see my face tonight. The injuries are a little disgusting to look at. So I'll do the best I can. I got a big slice on my typing thumb too, so I think I can still type okay. But anyway, I had a couple videos come out this week. I just posted the weekly Free the Few edition today on Rumble, and that was with a Seiko number 398 mold that I cast for the first time last year and had 40 bullets or something left to go shoot, and they shot pretty well. It was a good day at the range, other than the fall. So, but like Hillbilly, I'm kind of following in his footsteps, almost literally. Got the crutches, got all that good stuff going on here, and I've got some videos banked that I can put up. It's just going to be a while before I can get around to casting and shooting again. So that's me. How about you, Mr. Scotsman? What's happening, brother?
What's going on, guys? Good to be here. Good to see everyone out there.
a busy week at work and a little bit of stuff around the house and outside the house. So weather's starting to change. So trying to get stuff done before it gets too bad. But good to be here and good to see everyone out there. Mark, what's going on, man?
Oh, not too much. It is wonderful to be here. It's been a long week. We've been getting things finished up at school, getting ready to go off on break next week for Thanksgiving. Now, Scotsman and Chris, it's so nice to see you guys here this evening. You haven't been on here for quite a while. And Scotsman, that is a fine looking shirt you got there. Oh, Jamie got his on too. I couldn't see it for the beard.
You know they're going to be asking for something now, right?
Hey, we'll do it. Yeah, I haven't done much in the way of shooting, casting, reloading, or leather work all week. It's just been busy, been school, and my son and I have been trying to get to the gym. He wanted to start doing some weight training, just getting a little bit more active. So trying to support that. It's been real busy, but we're hoping to do a little bit of maybe hunting tomorrow, maybe do some things, and we'll see what we can film over the weekend. Just wonderful to be here. Been looking forward to it all week. Let's get to it.
So, y'all know we just kind of do what we do. I am proud to announce on behalf of myself, Chris, CW, Scotsman, and Mark that the first sponsor for the Georgia Shooting Connection, and it's called Wild Willie's Beard Company.
That's cool.
This is their beard oil. This is their beard brush. This is actually wild boar's hair, and so
You got to include me in on that. I do have a little stubby beard. I just keep it nice and trim.
on behalf of myself, CW, Scotsman, Mark, and Chris from the 740, we urge you to support Wild Willie's Beard Company. No, seriously, that's something I saw on Amazon, and it said Wild Willie. I had to buy it. So y'all know nobody's going to sponsor this mess. So dang, Mike, sorry to hear about that.
But Jiffy Cornbread might sponsor us if we ask them nice.
Ooh.
No, Chafin will make sure that don't happen.
Yep.
So, but anyway, I saw Wild Willie's and had to get that, and so I've been processing deer meat all week. Unlike CW, who gets it done pretty quick, I take my time. I have to work all day, so I only have a couple hours a day I can spend on it. But I took the day off today, and I got everything finished up except cubing and grinding. So got meat in the freezer, and the cooler's empty, so we're ready to go get another one, right? Don't everybody talk at once. Too bad that we can't handle guns on YouTube anymore, because Chris was showing off a couple he inherited today, and that's how you do. Is that an electric grinder, CW?
Yep, Cabela's.
Yeah, see, I've got a hand crank one.
That's 10 pounds of breakfast sausage, and it's chilling out in the bottom of my refrigerator right now.
That I do it the same way. I mix it all up and let it sit overnight, and then before I put it in bags, and I got one of those vacuum sealer things.
Yeah,
But I want it to.
yeah, you got to. Otherwise, like
Yeah.
I tried a couple patties tonight, and it was very good, but it was also very raw. It was like the first time you cooked something with flour and didn't cook the flour, or the first time you spiced up something and just poured spices on it on your dinner plate and then ate it. It just tasted powerful. It needs to kind of just it needs to just chill out for a while. And it does that in the refrigerator in a couple of hours. And it'll calm down and mellow out and taste a lot better. So in the morning I'll make another couple patties and try it. And if it's good, we'll package it up and freeze it. If it's not, I'll add some to it and I'll let it sit for a little while longer and try it again.
Yes, Mr. Gabriel, you have to put. I use pork trimmings because that's what my butcher sells me. It's got some pork in it, but it's mostly fat.
If you don't, what'll happen is your patties won't stay together. If you do patties, it will be very dry. It'll still be fine. It'll still taste fine. It won't be what most people are used to in sausage. You need to have some pork fat in there.
Yeah.
And I put pork in there too.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's done this, but anytime we have like a fresh, meat like that, we soak it in milk overnight in the refrigerator, and that seems to help really well. And
Take the gaminess out of it.
That'll draw the blood out, but it's not going to be gamey if it's handled properly.
yeah,
Your gaminess comes from mishandling. So you can do that. Nothing wrong with it, but that's why you generally do it. It's to draw out the gamey flavor, to take away from that unpalatable flavor. But if you don't allow that to get in there to begin with, you don't need to do that.
That's why I let mine age. And I tried something different this time. Is I put it in a bag and kept it cold for 4 days like I usually do before. So y'all got an advantage over us up north. Y'all can let a deer hang in its skin for a couple of days. That down here we can't do that. It'll run. So we have to. I bone it and put it in a bag. I put a bag of ice under it, put the meat on that, and then another bag on top of it, and keep it in the cooler for changing out the ice. And then every so often I'll take the meat out and rinse it off.
You shouldn't put it in a plastic bag and age it, because that'll just create more problems. You should have it so it'll air circulate, but you do want it covered, otherwise it'll dry out. And you want it on something that it can drain. So you don't want it to be sitting in its own juices if you're going to age it in the refrigerator. If you stick it in a plastic bag and seal it, all you're doing is making it cold. You're not really aging it.
That's what we want. We want cold.
You want cold, but if you're going to leave it in the fridge to age it, you want it to circulate. So bottom of the refrigerator is the coldest. And like if you look at any game bags, they're always cheesecloth. And why are they cheesecloth and not plastic? Well, because it needs to air to age.
Well, we have to do the best we can with what we have.
Newspaper works. Wax paper, if you don't seal it, it's okay. But just cover it up and
don't seal it up. I mean, it ain't like I put a bread wrapper around it or anything like that. It's always worked good. Never had any complaints. And when you get done with what we're talking about, you'd be hard pressed to tell the difference in your sausage from stuff you buy. And when I get through with my meat and get it smoked, and people generally don't change they don't put the barbecue sauce on it. They just eat it like it is.
Yep.
Barbecue sauces for meat you get at Applebee's.
I always told my wife, if I ever have a steak and reach for A1, I don't like the steak so much.
Right.
yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with A1. I like the taste of A1, but a good steak doesn't need anything. Salt and pepper.
Correct.
maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Had a
Quite a
ribeye
few
last
years.
night.
Years ago, my wife wanted a nice commercial KitchenAid, mixer, set up. I'm like, yeah, you bet. Go ahead. So once she got it, well, then I immediately ordered the grinder and stuff that goes on it. So she's like, oh, okay, that's why he was so happy for me to get that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, first topic for tonight, we want to talk about shotguns. Chris confiscated a good one today. You want to tell us about that first, Chris, before we do a deep dive?
Yeah, I was. My wife's grandpa. He passed away years and years ago, but my father-in-law had his old shotgun, and I ended up with that. I believe I said it was 76. Yeah, 1976 Mossberg 500. But it's 20 gauge, which is pretty cool because that's the first 20 gauge I've ever had. I've always had 12, so it'll be fun to have something a little different. But super cool gun, and it's just cool that it was his. So
Yeah, those are. I know CW prefers pumps to semi-autos, and I'm kind of a double barrel guy. I like side by sides, the old ones.
Pumps and side by sides for me too.
Yeah, I think the best person on the panel to answer the question that I ask in the description is Scotsman. What makes some shotguns so freaking expensive and others not? And I know the answer. I just think you can explain it better than I can.
There's a lot to that, depending on whether it's a semi-auto, whether it's pump. I mean, semi-auto, you're looking at gas versus inertia, different systems they have there. Stocks as far as wood, different grades of that. It's a very deep dive when it comes to that. I mean, you're talking anything from $1,000 double barrel to $10,000 double barrel, and it still goes up.
Oh yeah. Well,
I mean,
let me see if I can share the screen, and we'll. Of course, I know we're talking about manufacturers, grade of wood, so forth and so on. But what made me want to talk about this was this email I got today, and this from Bud's Gun Shop. I don't know how well y'all can see that, but right here we got a Benelli over under 828 12 gauge 28-inch double A grade satin walnut, $2,600. Then we got a Weatherby Orion right beside it's $865. Then we got a Stevens 555 $650, all the way down here to the Stoeger at $450. But right here you got a Browning Satori. I know Browning Satori. It's $34.50. Then you got another. This one right here is a sporting 12 gauge. This one right here is a trap shotgun, and it's $32.80, and this one's $35.50. So you also see the big vent rib on this one as opposed to a smaller vent rib on that one. Personally, I think all those are great guns. I would probably, and I know if I shot them side by side, I'd be able to feel and tell the difference and all that kind of stuff. But somebody that can't shoot skeet any better than me is probably going to be just fine with a Stevens or a Stoeger. But like you were saying, Scotsman, you could literally spend $100,000 on a trap gun.
You can spend way more than that if you want to. But yeah, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rich White saying the same Same thing I am. Y'all are off the chain tonight. We're gonna have a time when we go through the side chat this evening.
Yeah, I've actually got to shoot. I think it's around $5,000 Browning over and under, and of course I busted the birds with it. But I was also busting birds with my 870 too. But it's something about the feel of it. It's just like if you play golf and you got a Walmart set of golf clubs and somebody hands you a high dollar set of pings or something, there's just something about the feel of the quality. And, I don't know. It's, yeah, that Remington 1100 is a sweet gun.
It is.
I
They
saved
came
and saved and saved and bought a Browning Satori grouse special about, I don't know what year it was, 92, 91. It was gorgeous. It was absolutely gorgeous. I talked with the distributor who was our distributor for the store, and he got me a fitted box for a really good price, one of the leather boxes. It was just like my ultimate shotgun. I'd never had an over under. I always had side by sides or pumps. I had a couple of autos, but quickly learned that they weren't for me, and that's coming from duck hunting, where they constantly failed. And this is going to be the 70s and the 80s, so they've come a long way since then. But I took that gun and we hunted about 2 years, and the gun fit me very well. I just could not hit with that second barrel for nothing. I could not hit with it. I finally got frustrated. We went to a shoot, and one of the guys there was commenting how much he liked the gun, and we worked a deal. I lost a couple $100 and I sold it there at the shoot. And I went back to the store and I ordered a 870. That 870 shoots. I've shot, really, really good with it, and I'll have it forever. It's never failed me, and I put money back in the bank. I bought a fancy one. I bought a top of the line. I bought the lightweight, short, special purpose, something or other. I forget the name of it. Anyway, it's a short mag tube. It's got a 4-round magazine, a little bit shorter than the standard 870, and it had really, really fancy wood. And it shoots straight. I don't miss with it. So over-unders are just not for me. Side-by-sides I can shoot. Pumps I can shoot. Autos I can shoot. Over-unders, I just don't shoot them well. And the gun fit me. It was fit well to me, but it just didn't. I couldn't shoot it well.
I have that similar problem, CW. I really do. A side by side, I shoot that great. Single shots like Fuzz was talking about, they don't cost a lot of money, but boy, it's hard to beat them for fun. But something about that over under, and I had a buddy loan me his Ruger Red Label. I mean, not a cheap gun, but not a super expensive one. But there you go.
I'm with Fuzzy. I like those single shots. I got a whole bunch of them. I guess I would take a side-by-side next, and definitely the 870 pump after that. And I do have an auto, but it's okay. I would still rather do them myself, either pumping them or just changing out that single shot.
To me, they're like the epitome of a squirrel shotgun. I don't know what it is. I love a single barrel for squirrels. I don't know why. It's just the way I am. Doubles, side by sides are for upland game. Pump shotguns are like for duck hunting. That's just or personal protection. That's just the way my brain is wired. I just like them for that.
I can say, I've shot competition with shotguns. The only competition, that I've ever done with guns. And even just shooting with buddies and stuff, we'll play like elimination or whatever. I love shooting my Ithaca, I love like all my shotguns. I really do. But when it comes down, if there's money on the line or, some type of trophy, I'll switch and grab that 870 almost every time. It just always works, and it's comfortable to me. And like a lot of times, we'll talk about your curry gun, whatever, something that you're comfortable with, and you I guess I don't know what the word is, but you get to where you're confident, And so when if it's on the line, I'll grab that 870. That's my most confident shotgun I own.
I was invited to a police shoot, probably early 2000s, late 90s, and it was supposed to be duty shotguns, right out of the car. That's what it was supposed to be. And I don't know if we were late or something happened. Obviously, I wasn't in the email loop for the whole thing, but my buddy was, and he told me, bring the 1897, bring the Thumbbuster. I said, okay. We both had 1897 Winchesters. And if you don't know, that's a hammer shotgun. 1897, obviously, it's a real old one. Predecessor to the Model 12 Winchester. And it would slam fire. In other words, you hold the trigger back and you work that pump, and every time you push the pump forward, it would fire. So it could be very fast if you knew how to do it. And it could tear the heck out of your thumb if you had your thumb in the wrong spot. But so I brought that shotgun, and we get there, and I walk up to the line, and I put my gun in the rack, and I look at the rack, and it's full of Benellis, souped up, red dots on them, the whole 9 yards, big long mag tubes, just race guns. And I say to Frank, my buddy, I said, hey, what's going on? He said, I don't know. Let me find out. So he goes to the range officer, and apparently the guys were emailing back and forth, and they said, since it's not a main match, it's a side part of the match, do what you want, bring whatever you want. So they all brought their fancy race guns. Not a single cop officer brought a duty gun except for style gun, except for Frank and I. Duty guns were 870s or 500s or 590s. That's what the cruisers had. So they were calling us Grandpa. We had all kinds of names. You got to be in those circles. It's a testosterone-rich environment. These are all 20-somethings, young cops, full of they're the best at everything they do. They're just alpha males, just so grandpas. And I was older than everybody there, and Frank is just a little older than me. Frank was I think he was a lieutenant then. And we placed first and second. We beat everybody with those 1897s because none of these kids knew. Well, most of these kids didn't really know how to operate their guns really well, and none of them knew that we could slam fire. So we're just mowing down, and it's all steel targets. There's nothing. It's all steel targets, a couple paper targets. Basically, think plates and pins with a shotgun. And we took first and second. Frank took first, I took second with these 100-year-old Thumbbuster shotguns. But it was a blast.
Perfect. That's
It
perfect.
was a blast. It was great to beat all these kids, put them in their place. At the same time, do it with a 100-year-old shotgun that none of them could hear, none of them knew about. And after them all calling us Grandpa and we're not going to do anything, it was just perfect. Perfect.
Now,
I love it.
wasn't the trench guns in World War One, weren't they Winchester 97s with a heat shield and sawed off a little bit?
I think a lot of them were, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And the bad thing about that is the plastic shot shells that we have now were not what they had in World War One. They were paper.
No, and that was part of the problem with them. Yeah, they would
Yeah.
swell up and get stick. Yeah.
and you're
Military use
standing
brass.
you're standing on a board or either in ankle deep water in those
Mm.
trenches. So
Yeah.
not
When they
good.
used them for guard duty, they had all brass ones because they were in and out of the guns so much.
Yeah, they had to switch them
Yeah.
over.
But my question then becomes: did the brass make it over in time for the end of the war? That took so long to get there back then. Walk says Model 12s were used too. Good to know. So
Yeah.
that's
Big boy
That's-
brings up a good one too. There's a Winchester and a Remington that were known as the Widowmakers, and part of the reason they were called that was because they were autos, and they would cock by the barrel. You grabbed the barrel and pulled the barrel back. They had a knurling patch on the barrel, and you'd actually pull it back. And Widowmakers because you put it on the ground and do it and blow your head
Blow your
off.
I was gonna
face
say, a
off.
lot of times they put it on the ground, hit it on the ground, and they get too close.
Yep.
And that's all she wrote, as Walter would say.
You guys are great shotgun guys. Our attacking daughters, Model 12 Winchester, just posted it. Cool. There's Idaho Rogers USMC. So, what we're going to tie?
12 gauge.
All right, 12 gauge. Type in 12 gauge and we'll call your names out on YouTube. There's 74 of you guys out there. Thanks for coming in. We're humbled. And it's going to blow off the screen any second. And there it goes. Let me scroll up. So we got
Good luck.
yeah.
Off the screen.
All right, so we
63, I
got
see. That's great.
Viejo Walters out there, and on the panel we got Fuzz T Fork 8, CW Longshot, Mark Thomas, Tactical Fud, Andy 79Z28, Rich White, Tommy Boy, Bobby Barlow, 6-shooter Texan, hey 6, Michael Dunn, Walks Fletcher, Duffer 426, Michael Hurtneck, Fuzz T Fork 8, Guns and Water, Fluffy 10mm Jeep Guy. I love saying that. I just do. James Pollard, Edward Petty, Walks Fletcher, Paul Loud, Spectre Solutions. Hey, Devin. Abigail Finnegan, 01 Guy, Idaho Rogers USMC Defense Dad, Papa's Place, Steve's Woodworking and Homestead, James Pugh, Andre D'Angelo, Fuzz T Fork 8 again, Reloading from the Hot Pot, Abigail Finnegan, Idaho again, Guns and Water, Bama Dad, Kyle, Quest for the Perfect Load, 76 Highboy Reloading, what's going on, buddy? Corners and Doors, that Tactical Fud, Mike Hester, The Rebel, Rich B, M. Gabriel, Kingpin, Walks Fletcher, Tim S., Mike Hester, Dale Pogue, Boomstick Revenge Harm. And I think that's everybody.
Steve's Woodworking.
Steve's Woodworking, we said him. He needs to come on here with us one night.
He does.
Yeah. Steve, anytime, let me know.
That'd be fun.
Alaska One Andy, Chris Winslet, a couple of more. And Steve's Woodworking again. And Kyle says 10 gauge is just a smidgen more goodness. Yeah. Let me catch up to the comments. There's William C. Chapin. What's going on, Curtis? We're talking. Your name came up earlier. Let's put it that way.
There's
Okay,
Public
next.
Place.
Here's the next question. I know CW does this. I know Hillbilly does this. Chris from the 740, we'll start with you. Would you ever consider doing a skeet shoot?
Oh yeah.
You wouldn't mind doing that?
No, what we talking like getting together and doing one?
Well, just if it was available at your club, would you ever think about doing it?
Yeah.
Like, how can a guy I know was looking for something to do that way with, in shooting sports with his family and his wife and both sons, who their sons are very active baseball players. So, yeah, they were talking about maybe getting together as a family and doing skeet shooting. I think
is it somebody you know, Jamie, or something that's being suggested, or just a topic?
Well, he bought somebody I know. He bought his wife a Benelli 20 gauge semi-auto, and he was showing me pictures of it last night.
Because
So
I would steer them towards sporting clays over skeet. I think that they would probably enjoy it more as a beginner. Skeet is definitely fun, but it's a little more regimented. It's a little more. There's a lot more rules and ways you do things, and it might cramp a beginner a little bit and turn them off, is what my worry would be. Where sporting clays is, if you don't know it, it's kind of like golf with a shotgun. It represents hunting situations, and although there is still rules, it's more safety oriented than required how to do it. And you have targets coming and going kind of like you do with skeet, but in a different scenario. I just think it's a little more friendly to a beginner than skeet. Trap is another one that's a little easier for a beginner, but it's little farther targets. It's a full choke game versus where sporting clays is all chokes, and skeet is more close, open, and mid-range chokes. So they're all versions of similar, but
which one is the one that would have them rolling across the ground?
that would be sporting clay.
Yeah, that's a rabbit, is what they call that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Bet.
Skeet is a C with high and low houses on either side end of the field. Trap has a single house in the middle with a backwards C, and you shoot from different positions in an arc. And everything is longer range. It's full choke game, where skeet can be really close.
Okay.
And sporting clays is, just think of golf. You could have a rabbit. You could have a rabbit and a bird. You could have stuff flushing from under you. You could have stuff flying at you. You could have stuff flying across and away, or across and at you. You could have stuff going off at the report of your gun. It all depends on how it's set up.
Yeah.
So
Can I address this right here, guys? I made a comment about turkey shoots and stuff, and Chessboard brought up, Sergeant York. I don't know if people's ever seen that old movie, but man, you ever get a chance,
Great movie.
watch
Great.
that show. It's one of my favorite all-time movies. But my suggestion, Jamie, if anybody, if it's available to them, if you got a field and you don't need a real big field, you can start out going getting your hand thrower or, Walmart or even just the automatic, the manual lock, throwers. We mounted for a long time. We had one of those just screwed on to a wooden pallet. We'd put in the back truck, go out to the field, drag it out, and one person would take turns just, manually loading that one and throwing them. And then, of course, now we got the automatic throwers and stuff. But, man, just going out with the family or friends and just out in the field, throwing clays, it's a blast. We do that basically when we get together for Thanksgiving and stuff as a family. That's one thing that we do. And around here, I'd put it out there earlier, turkey shoots is what they were called. It's just part of life around here leading up to Thanksgiving. Several different little towns or communities held them. And most usually for the win, like you literally won, a frozen turkey. They team up with supermarkets or whatever. And that has anything from just a target posted on a, wooden post out there and one shot and, how many BBs, hits you had inside the target. They'd score them that way to, throwing singles and doubles. And it was just a family a lot of just family get together, for around here. And it's sad that they don't do it like as much as what they used to.
Well, I think it has the potential to be a great family activity.
Mm-hmm. It's fun.
Particularly if you get some shotguns that won't kick the crap out of your wife. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think I don't know who wouldn't enjoy some sort of, whether it's trap shooting. Trap shooting is kind of the most popular thing around this area. We got that Cardinal Shooting Center south of us where we shoot a lot of USPSA matches, and that's where they're having nationals and all that now. But that club was always, they were a world-renowned trap shooting and sporting clays club. That's how they became popular. They just now have gotten into the other shooting stuff like USPSA and stuff like that just here in the last couple of years. But that was that's always been a very well-known club for trap shooting and stuff. So, but it's pretty big around here. We have a few clubs really close to our area that do that. I think they even do it at Gene's club. Don't they, Gene?
Yeah, they do. We've got all that set up at the club. Any members?
Yeah, because it's like right behind the clubhouse, and it is where they have all their trap houses and stuff set. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, all the members are free to do it anytime they want. Just bring clays.
Yeah, that's another good point that Walks brings up. Trap is generally a 12 gauge game where skeet is any of the gauges, and it's actually classes for these gauges. And the same for sporting clays. You can use whatever gauge.
Well, the family that owns the property that I'm allowed to deer hunt on, he's left deer hunting behind and gone into the shotgun game, and he's gotten his son goes to Unity Christian School here, and he's became the coach of the skeet team for the high school, and that is so cool. They never had anything like that when I was in high school. Of course, I went to city school, so there was that. There's Preacher's Day Off. Welcome in here, sir. Thanks for coming. So, Gene, do you think there'd ever be a time when you'd want to do some shotgun stuff, shooting?
I did a bunch of it when I did 3-gun. I practiced with shotgun all the time. Shot the events. Shot clays. Done some trap. Right now, the only shotgun I've got is that bolt action 20 gauge. Kind of got out of shotguns for a while, but that 20 gauge is really piquing my interest in some new shotguns now.
Yeah, they're fun, and I hope the email I shared with everybody kind of piqued some interest. What about you, Walter?
I actually have been considering it again. I haven't picked up a shotgun in a long time, and I don't have one that's suitable for any clays of any kind right now. But out here at my local gun club, the one that just stabbed me in the back and went all lead free for the pistol range, has a very popular trap following, including a sizable youth group that shoots out there frequently, and some of those kids are pretty darn good. I've gone out there and watched them a bunch, and thought, man, if those 14-year-olds can get out there and do that, I ought to be able to do it. So I've been kind of chatting up with some of the guys that are shooters out there and said, hey, if I were to go and get started in this, would you consider being a mentor for me? And they said, not only yeah, but heck yeah, bring it on. You come out, shoot our guns for a while, we'll find one that's the right, one for you and get you going. So I may still do that. And it's another rabbit hole for me to go down. And I've been down a bunch of them at once right now, it seems like. But
Well,
I would like to do it.
I'm thinking more and more about it, and of course, my thing right now is I want to get into cowboy action shooting. That's where I'm at. So I've got a couple of side by sides, and I really like them. But Walter, one thing you failed to tell us, and you were talking about your fall. I'm sorry you went through that, but you didn't tell us about how they had to come dig up the concrete and replace all that.
Yeah, there's a big impression, the shape of my face in the concrete right now. and some fool painted it red, and
I feel so bad because Walter called me up Monday morning, like 4:00 his time, to wish me a happy birthday, and told me what he was going to do. I told him what I was going to do, and about 3 hours later, I get a message and a picture, and poor Walter's all cut up, and he's got a big band-aid across his lip, and his fingers all mangled, and he just looks like he got run over by a tank.
Man,
I felt so bad.
I got into the urgent care. I still don't know how I managed to drive myself
Spent all day at the urgent care.
50-mile drive home with a busted knee.
And then they finally tell him he's got a cracked kneecap. And
I get to the urgent care, and they were really good to me in there, as good as they could be. And the one, almost a doctor, what do they call them? Physician's assistant. She goes, "What in the world happened to you?" I testified to the fact that me and this buddy CW and I were out sacking bobcats, and we run out of sacks. I thought she was gonna die laughing at that. So no, I really need to know what you did so I know where to start work.
Yeah, I've been exactly there, because when I first did my knee, that's what happened to me. I tore the MCL, the ACL, and cracked the cap, and it was miserable. It was miserable.
Well, those things swell up, and it looks like you got a grapefruit hiding out between your thigh and your ankle.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sitting here right now. I'm looking at mine, and I got an orange under it. It's about orange size.
Yeah,
that's typical for me. I was on my feet all day, on and off with the doing the deer. We butchered deer today, so I was on my feet, sitting down, trying to get off my feet, sit down, and do the trimming, and it just blows up.
I got an idea, fellers. It's gonna be
it could be dangerous.
It's going to be a little while for Walter can get back to the gun range. And so I'll be the first one to say I'd be more than happy to. I will film an edit video with basically, for you. I'm going to send it to you for you to post on your YouTube. That way you will have content, buddy.
You got to learn how to shoot really crappy like me first, though.
You might see me trying to reload something or I don't know what I got. I don't even have anything in mind right now, but I will.
I've got like 10 Moldy Mondays already in the can, ready to post, but it'll be a while before I get anything else new for sure. Yeah, I'll come up with stuff. I got a couple gun videos, reviews that I've been waiting to do. So I should be good. I think in a month I'll be okay. That's what I think. But I ain't no doctor.
Well, I will be doing
I
a video
appreciate it.
and sending it to you, buddy.
All right. That could be fun.
So we hadn't heard from Scotsman and Mark Thomas. Which one of y'all want to tell us the answer to the question?
I was waiting to see what I should do. Yeah, I would do it. I just have the 870 Wingmaster, but I love that thing. I can shoot that thing really well, and very smooth shooting gun. The problem is like many have said, it is a rabbit hole, and it's a very expensive rabbit hole, and it's not one I really want to drop too much money into because I have enough rabbit holes.
Don't we
I
all?
have 3 benches and some other, and you know how it goes.
Yeah, I think getting good at that and getting good at cowboy action shooting and getting good at making shot shells would be a lot of fun. I just do. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, I didn't grow up with a 12 gauge. I grew up with a 16 gauge, and it's just a single shot and an auto. So got a little bit into 12 gauge. I have a nice 870 12 gauge pump, and I love shooting that. But I'm kind of getting to where Chris said. I got into 20 gauge about 2 or 3 years ago, and I've ended up with a single shot, a side by side, a pump. I don't have an auto yet, but if I'm going to go shooting, I would like to shoot sporting clays, and I would definitely like to shoot it with a 20 gauge. Just so much, lighter, less recoil, much more comfortable to shoot. I could shoot, 150 rounds all day with a 20 gauge versus a 12 gauge going to leave you with a little bit of a sore shoulder. Now, we don't do a whole lot of organized shooting, Seth and I, but in the summertime, we'll go down to the club, and it's completely abandoned weekdays in the summertime. So we'll take the thrower down, just pound that into the ground. We can take a whole box of clays and a couple boxes of shells. We can shoot 1 box of shells. We can shoot 4 boxes of shells, and it's no problem. It's just comfortable. It's nice. It's pleasant. And trying to encourage Gene, since he got that little bolt action, reloading for 20 gauge is nice too. It's cheap. It's easy. I got that Lee load all shotgun reloader, and not much powder, not much shot, and you can fill that box of shells up real quick and have a real good time with it.
Yes, I know. I was up at local gun store, Cherries, and they had one of those loaders up there, and they've got all the wads up there. And that was at another place, and I've seen all the shot, and I've got access to all the powder I want. We've got shelves of it at the shop. So yeah, and I saved my shells from the first box I shot out of it. So and we got primers, so I'll probably be another rabbit hole.
No, it's well worth it. It is well worth it.
I wished I had taken 4 boxes of shells. I only took 1. I wished I had taken 4. By the time I shot that 1 box up, I was just getting fired up with it. That 20 gauge was so nice, man.
My first firearm was a 20 gauge shotgun. I like them too. They'll always have a special spot. That Browning I told you about was a 20 gauge over under. The Remington 870 I replaced it with is a 20 gauge grouse special, special purpose, special field. 20 gauge is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's become an absolute soft spot for me. I love it.
They even came out with a 3.5 inch,
Yep.
but it didn't really take off.
I just really like 16. It seems perfect to me. It just does.
That was my grandfather's. My grandfather was 16. He had 3 of them. He had a single shot. He had a Sweet 16 that my little brother's got, and he had a Parker that I've got.
Okay. 6-shooter Texans got a side-by-side 20 gauge. Something that Preacher's Day off like 16 too. So yeah, we'll start a club, 16 gauge club. Yeah. They're hard to find, and ammo's hard to find too. So if you're going to do 16, you just about got to do them. You got to load them.
That's probably the next reloader is going to be a 16 gauge.
Yeah, now that I got that 20 gauge, I had hundreds of 20 gauge shells, and I just gave them away to all my friends that had 20 gauge shotguns. And I'm like, why did I do that?
Oh no.
Sounds like
I probably would have never bought one. I had so many 12 gauge shotguns. Now I'm like, oh, now I got one, and I don't have any shells for it.
I think if I had to pick a favorite though, for bird shotgun, it would be 28 gauge. 28 gauge is my favorite.
I can see that it's taken off in the bird shooting world.
Yeah, you can get.
I've
one
never
of
shot a
those.
28.
Well,
You got
hey,
7/8 and 3/4 ounce loads. It's light on your shoulder. It patterns really, really well. And believe it or not, a bit of trivia: more perfect rounds in skeet have been shot. More first perfect rounds of skeet have been shot with a 28 gauge than all other gauges.
Interesting. Yeah, all my hunting with a shotgun when I was hunting was with my 870 12 gauge, and that was mostly on the California Valley quail, of which we had an abundance of. They were easy to find, easy to shoot, and easy to get back if you had a good dog like I did. But never shot a 28.
That's one nice thing that thanks to Michael Dunn, he bought me the shotgun reloader and gifted it to me. That was really nice of him. But since we've been shooting here lately this fall, I just been picking up, empties. And what's nice about it is, when we all get together, there's 16 gauge, 20 gauge, and all that. So I definitely have been grabbing the 16 and 20 gauge also to, the reload. And so.
We got to get you started, Hillbilly, in this reloading game.
Yeah.
I know you're thinking like I need something else to do right now, but when you're half broke down like you and me, at least we can sit at the bench and reload.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, in all my years of shooting, man, I've only ever shot 12. I've never shot any other shotgun. 12 gauge is it.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing nice about us all getting together, family and friends, is, there being anywhere from 20 to 30 of us, and, everybody's shotguns, they're sitting on a blanket or something in the bed of the trucks, parked around, and everybody, is so nice to like, hey, shoot it, shoot this gun, shoot that gun, like when we go, I'll take like 5 shotguns with me just because, in case somebody might show up and don't have one, or, whatever the case might be, people want to try it. And, so that's really another nice thing when you can get together with people, doing this, because all people are very welcoming to let you try the gun.
Dang, man. That's going to blow some That's going to blow some reloading manuals out of the water.
There's Gort.
Yep, he's been here for a while.
There's Burnaby Sanchez.
Hey, Barnaby Sanchez. Good to see you out there too, Brody. So, yeah, the shotgun thing's real interesting, and but we also want to talk about. Well, right now, I think. Let me see. You ready, Gene?
Yeah, I guess so.
It's time for What's Hot Pot Got?
I just love that picture. That's so cool.
Perfect.
Hot Pot got something cool tonight again. This come rolling through my table when I was sorting rifle brass. This is an 8x56 RS. It is a very, very cool rifle cartridge. Shoots a nice big bullet. And I'll give you a little bit of history on this piece. This piece is cartridge was adopted in the year 1930 by the First Austrian Republic. In 1931 by the Kingdom of Hungary, and in 1934 by the Kingdom of Bulgaria as a replacement for the 8x50 MMR Mannlicher cartridge.
Mannlicher.
I didn't want to say Mannlicher.
That's what it is, Mannlicher.
Yeah.
We'll call it the Mannlicher. So it is a Hungarian cartridge. Was designed 1930 and is produced from 1930 to present in the commercial status. It was also used by the Nazi regime during World War II. So this is a really cool old cartridge. The average bullet that they would use in it is a 206 grain and a 200 grain jacketed bullet. The velocity on it is averaging for the 206 is 2,300, and for the 200 is 2,040. Isn't that just cool? The
Yeah,
stuff
it's
that
got
comes
a-
are
it's
rare,
got a
huh?
rim on it, and it's got that old school tapered shoulder.
It's almost like a two-step. Look at that.
Yep.
Yeah, severe
Cool stuff.
taper on that
Yeah.
shoulder.
Little piece of some war history there. World War II and before.
Yeah, you
Right.
know, Austria was the first country that the Nazis, I won't say invaded. They kind of let them in. That's good to know.
I've
The
been
regular
wa- I've been listening to a lot of stuff on the Nazi regime during World War II. I listened to a lot of little, not podcasts, but just some biography stuff while I'm sorting brass, and then this just happened to come across the bench. Strange, huh?
Yeah, Steve's Woodworking is asking black powder. If it was designed in 1930, that would be a negative.
Yeah, no, it's not black powder cartridge.
That would be negative, Ghost Rider. Thanks for showing us that. Thanks for sharing, man.
I thought that was pretty cool. But that, everybody, is what Hot Pot's got.
Very cool.
So Andy's going to bed. Y'all say good night to Andy. Good night, Andy.
Not Andy.
Night,
All right,
Andy.
Andy.
Good night, Andy. Sleep well, brother.
That was a pretty cool round. That might have been one of my favorites you've done there.
It's just neat
I
looking with
just-
that long tapered neck on that thing. I never saw that before.
You know, I don't see a lot of these things, you know, like in quantity numbers, but I do get to see a lot of different things that got to look them up to even
It's
know what
common,
it is.
common for old stuff. Look at like the 22 Hornet, even the 06 is a tapered shoulder. The 300 H&H,
Are they?
all those older ones had a very graceful tapered
I
shoulder.
mean, it's a really nice looking cartridge. I'd like to see it with a bullet in it. They do still make them on the commercial side, and this is a PPU case. So
I'm over on another page looking at them. It almost looks like PPU is the only company that still makes it.
yeah, I seen that too.
Yeah.
On my short little, what am I going to show tonight? Because I had 3 of them. I had 2 originally, and then I pulled that one out, and it was like, and I found that one yesterday. They come across my table, and I just, as they come across the table, I see something odd, I just stuff it in my pocket because there's not enough of it to sell it, So my boss is kind enough just to, whatever. He's a good
Is it
guy.
is it a Spitzer pointed bullet or is it rounded?
It's pointed.
Spitzer, yeah.
All the pictures I seen of the loaded cartridges, they were pointed.
All right. So very cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
So we wanted to talk a little bit. Chris asked us about standard deviation and extreme spread and that kind of stuff. And I've done no research. I'm not prepared for this. But
That's what we got CW for.
yeah,
We don't have to research anything. We got the encyclopedia up there.
yeah, well, I think extreme spread is pretty self-evident. I mean, it's the fastest to the lowest. That's your extreme spread as far as speed. You got to have a chronograph for any of this stuff to make sense. On that note, I found something very interesting that since Garmin has announced that they're coming out with their radar chronograph, all of a sudden, guess what? Lab Radar dropped their price by $150. Competition is good.
Amazing what competition does, huh?
And if that Garmin unit works out really good, I know somebody who's got a lab radar that'll drop it probably about twice that just to get rid of me.
Didn't Chad Kelly got one, didn't he?
Yeah, he's got one. He's been working with it.
Yeah, man, that thing's so cool. It's so small too. Man.
That's what I like about it.
How much is it? We can talk chronograph prices, can't we?
They're $600 right now, maybe $500. No, I think $599 is what I saw on their website for it. So they ain't gonna be cheap.
No.
No.
I'll probably stick to my $120 Pro DLX.
So Milsurp Duo's out there. He's been at a gun show. We're going to one tomorrow. But yeah, the 600, $599 on the Garmin. Mike likes his lab radar. If you got a lab radar and you like it, I see no sense in spending that much more money for the Garmin. But
I wouldn't buy one in addition to my lab radar.
Right.
I like the size of that new one. That lab radar is, by the time you get a tripod to set it on, and the unit itself, and a battery to run it on, it's a lot more stuff to carry. It looks like that Garmin unit is about a fourth of the volume of junk to carry to the range with you.
Right.
Yeah, you can
And
just throw
see-
that. You can just throw that Garmin in your range bag.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
And trigger bar philosopher, I think the traction to the lab radar and stuff like that is it kind of sets to the side and you don't have to shoot through or over anything. So that kind of takes shooting the chrono out of the picture.
Right. And if you're in an environment like a controlled range where you're not allowed to put an optical unit downrange in front of you, then you need something that you can use from the bench.
Yeah, Trigger Bar does a ton of videos on his channel with his lab radar.
Well,
Are
I
those
wonder if
friendly
Garmin,
numbers?
if you can set it on the dash of your car and it'll give you directions, you know, for your going.
What'd be worse would be if that Garmin unit has that chick in it that comes out and says, "What are you shooting? Pull your aim point over to the right, you fool! You got one. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, or you're going to get run off the road or something."
Look at Mike showing off. Happiness is an extreme spread of 2 feet per second. Who does that? How many rounds did you fire, Rebel? 2 or just 1?
One.
1.
That's actually not too good if you do that, right?
Yeah.
Not so good.
He had to spit too.
So why is it good? You know, why are these numbers that you're interested in knowing? So if you're a plinker or if you're a 100-yard shooter, they're not really as valuable to you as they are or would be to somebody who's shooting longer ranges. They are pretty much mandatory numbers to somebody shooting, 1,000 yards, 500 yards, 2,000 yards. They're pretty much, you pretty much can't do it without it. And like Jamie said, ES is just extreme spread. It's the difference between each of your shots in velocity.
Well, it's the difference between the high and the low.
Yeah, and SD is also off an average. It takes an average of your shots. It's a calculation. It takes the average of your shots, and that's your middle of the road, or that's what they call in a lot of definitions online your mean, your average. And then it takes your highs and your lows, and it calculates, and it gives you a range. So that's why you want the lowest numbers that you can get. Obviously, if you've got 200 feet per second swing in your velocity, so your extreme spread is really wide, at 100 yards, you're going to see a very minimal difference in that. But it'll be there. It's just going to be minimal. But let's back it off to something like some really slow, like a 22. All right, everybody knows a 22 rimfire. You sight them in at 25 yards dead on, you shoot 100 yards, and you're what? 4 inches low? 5 inches low? So if you lose 200 feet per second off that bullet, are you still 5 inches low? No, you're lower. Now, expand that 10 times and go to 1,000 yards. How much off are you now? Okay, huge. So that's why those numbers are really important to know for ranges that stretch out there, because you want those ES numbers and the SD numbers as low or as close together as you can get them for that shot-to-shot consistency that is going to equate to accuracy out there at longer ranges. In a nutshell.
I'll add a couple things in there too, because standard deviation was something that I used a lot as a science teacher. And there's, with our shooting, using standard deviation in shooting, all it's concerned with is the muzzle velocity, or however far out your chrono is from your muzzle, the velocity at that point. And let's say you have your device gives you a standard deviation of 10. Okay, what that means is that a certain percentage, and I'll tell you what those percentages are here in a minute, a certain percentage of the rounds that you fire should fall within plus or minus one standard deviation would be 10 feet per second. Okay, that number 10, a standard deviation of 10 is a foot per second for us shooters. So if you got a pencil or something, you could write these numbers down. There's what we call the 68, 95, 99.7 rule. And what that tells us is that if you have a standard deviation of 10, then 68% of all your shots should fall within one standard deviation of that mean or average that CW was telling about. So if I'm shooting a 45 auto and my mean is 850 feet per second with a standard deviation of 10, 68% of my rounds statistically should fall within plus or minus 10 feet per second from that 850. In other words, between 840 and 860. But only 68% of them would fall within one standard deviation. The next number was 95. And that 95 says that 95% of all the rounds that you shoot, you would expect to fall within two standard deviations, or plus or minus 20 feet per second if our SD was 10. So you can go to the last number that I gave you was 99.7, and that says that with a standard deviation of 10, that 99.7 of all your rounds should fall within three standard deviations. That would be 30 feet per second of your average. So what does that mean to you? Well, it depends on what kind of shooting you're doing. You could use that number to, since it's really just a measure of what's going on with muzzle velocity, you might consider that might be a telltale of your reloading practices. I mean, it could mean that your powder charges are all wonky. It could mean that your barrel got too hot halfway through the shooting. So, and you don't really know what has produced a real high standard deviation. What we're looking for is the lowest standard deviation as possible. Like if you have a standard deviation of only 2 feet per second, then 99.7% of all your rounds you would expect to fall within 3 times 2. 3 standard deviations are 6 feet per second, plus or minus, and that's pretty darn dependable. So that's kind of what that number means. So like CW said, the lower that number, the more consistent your muzzle velocities are. But that's all it is. It's only about muzzle velocity. Okay, I'm done.
That was good, Boulder.
Yeah, and when you get high standard of deviations, Walter said something about it could be your practices, your procedures. All right, the way I look at reloading is the way I look at a lot of things. It's and Miss Kitty will appreciate this, but I ain't seen her out there tonight. It's like a 3-legged stool. Number one, you got your components or your ingredients. Say you're cooking a cake, so you need your ingredients. They need to be quality. They need to be good stuff. Next would be your equipment, what you're using it to do it with, and then the third is your procedures. How you doing it, how you going about doing it. So as long as you've got those good 3 legs established on your stool, then everything's good, but you take one away and guess what happens?
Yep. world falls apart on you. Here's what I use it for. Since I'm not a bench press shooter, but I am a handgun shooter, and I like to mess around with different loads and different bullets and stuff, as you guys know. So suppose I go out to the range and I shoot the same bullet with two different powders that give me the same average velocity. But one has a standard deviation of 8 and the other one has a standard deviation of 25. That could be reflective of the powder that I'm using. It could be the same, everything the same, except I used two different powders. And one of them gave me a standard deviation of 8 and the other one gave me a standard deviation of 25, but they both gave me the same mean velocity. And if they do that time after time after time, then most likely the powder with the better standard deviation is burning more consistently than the one that gave me a standard deviation of 25. And that gives me a clue to maybe, what am I looking at with these powders? Was one a faster burning powder than the other? Did I use, too slow of a burning powder for a short barrel revolver or something like that? So it can help you, but it's important to remember that it has really not a whole lot to do with accuracy beyond the idea that velocity, muzzle velocity can affect accuracy, but the standard deviation doesn't tell you how accurate that round is going to be necessarily, because you can have a round that's pretty accurate and have a crummy standard deviation, and it can also go the other way. You can have really good standard deviation and poor accuracy out of any particular gun.
That's the reason I started out my comments the way I did, saying that if you're just a plinker or a close short range shooter, it may not have any merit to you at all, because you can absolutely shoot some accurate groups with some really bad ES and SD numbers.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the Lyman manual that will give you most accurate loads are based on their SDES numbers, not on actual accuracy.
Right. So it's a tool that can, mean different things to different people and be utilized by different kinds of shooters. I'm the short range handgun guy like CW was talking about. So it doesn't tell me much except about what's going on usually with my powder choice.
Yeah, it's a really good indicator of your practices, your consistencies, your accuracies of your reloading process. Because you can have, like, if you're shooting mixed brass, range mixed brass, that may be something that was fired 10 times, maybe brand new, maybe different brands, which is going to give you different hardnesses. It's going to give you different thicknesses, which are going to all equate to different neck tensions. Those can make your ES numbers wacko.
Yep, exactly. So it's not an end all thing.
Yeah, don't go over the deep end and think this is going to be something that now I have to do this or I can't be a good reloader. It's not the case. It's if you want to pursue this and you want to make this a target for yourself to improve on yourself, great, but don't feel like it's something that you have to do because you heard it here on the panel. Your life hasn't changed, but it could improve if you're a longer range shooter and you're not watching these things.
Yeah, it's a data point.
Exactly, just a tool for us.
It's a data point.
I want to say something. I use that tool because I've got to shoot a couple nationals with USPSA, and they're going to chrono your ammo, and you need to be in this sweet spot to pass chrono. Or it can make or break you when you're at that event. So I've gotten more into consistency with my powder, my seating depths, which gun I'm shooting it out of, that I'll be shooting at that event. So I hold within my FPS to be able to meet power factor, because they do 3 shots and then they average those 3 shots. Well, you just grab 3 rounds out of your ammo case. and they're random. I don't take anything special for it, and it has to be within that range to pass through chrono. If I was shooting I was shooting my 10 millimeter. I was shooting major limited, and if I didn't make the power factor, I was automatically demoted back down to minor, and that hurts scoring when you're doing something like that. So I had to be within these perimeters. You know what I mean, Chris?
Oh yeah, that's bad. That's why you shoot PCC. You never have to worry about it.
But I wanted to do that because I guess I think I wanted to prove to myself that I could make good, consistent ammo.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Gene.
Yeah. And I did. And just by taking some time and care into it. That's all it was. I picked the powder. I picked the powder for the gun. I picked the projectile for the gun. And then I worked on that and chronoed it myself and worked with different loads going, 6.7, 6.8, 6.9, 7, 7, 7.1, 7.2, just those small little increments until I got to where I needed to be safely.
Right. So if you develop yourself a load that's very accurate, but where the extreme spread and or high standard deviation is in the picture, then those, you could, since it's just a statistical thing, you could by chance pull 3 rounds out of there that had an extreme spread of, a huge amount, and they may give you an average velocity that are way off of what you need it to be. So in that case, I would think I'm not a competitive shooter, but I would want a load that was not only accurate, but produced a low standard deviation. And a low standard deviation is going to go hand in hand with a low extreme spread.
Yes. The round is very accurate. My 10 millimeter, my Rock Island, stupid accurate. I can bench it and almost go through the same spot every time. As long as I do my part, it does it, and I stay within in my power factor range.
Very cool.
Yeah, I get a lot of people that'll ask me sometimes, like, why don't you do different things with your progressive? And I'm like, no, that's my competition round. That thing's dialed in exactly where I want it. I'm not messing with it. It's always going to be the same powder charge. Because that's, like you said, that's a big deal to us. We make that round for one thing and one thing only,
Yeah. I've got several load masters, and I use for progressive, and one is set up just for the 9 millimeter. Another one is set up just for 10 millimeter, for my competitive shooting, and they're dedicated to that. I've got 3 other presses that I just use for this and that and the other. One set up for 45 on a general base. Another one I got set up for just doing some 223, 5.56 stuff. But yeah, when you're shooting like me and Chris do, you once you set that press up, it's done. You don't change it. You just make sure everything's still taut on it. That's it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see your velocities and extreme spreads and standard deviations at different ranges. Like when we get together, we can. You might have a standard deviation of 6 at 100 yards, but it might be 12 at 1,000, or it may be 16. That kind of stuff's cool to see, man.
I'm looking forward to going back down and shooting again. I got that Bergara, and I haven't fired a round out of it yet. We'll try and get it to the range here the next week or so. Get it broke in.
Beautiful rifle, Gene.
Yeah, that thing is so sweet.
Yeah, it is.
Sure cost enough though. Oof.
Yeah, it bees that way. Scotsman,
Yeah, but you
anything
did it
you
right. You had that thing in layaway for a long time, didn't you? I mean,
Yeah, that thing cost so much it took me a minute to get it out.
but hey, but you got it. You got it, and you didn't go broke getting it. So
Almost. I'm just thankful Vector sponsored the scope for it.
oh,
That'd
I'm
been-
excited to see that. I saw that short today. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
Scotsman, you or Mark got anything to say about extreme spread and standard deviation?
I would say the biggest thing, one of the big things, is once you find that load that you want, make sure you write everything down. Walter's really good for recording stuff. You'll see him when he's Moldy Mondays. He records all that stuff down. Same thing when it comes to that. Your powder charge, your bullet weight, the whole 9 yards. What you're using, everything. Record it all so you have it. That way, when you do find that one, you can go back and you got all your references.
Yeah, I definitely do that with all my stuff, Scotsman. I mean, all my 9mm loads, I've got a different page for each powder with each bullet that I've tried with it, you know, and done chrono with it, and then just notes. Very important.
Yeah, at first, when you first get into reloading, you don't see the need for it right off. You think, well, you know, I can just remember this. But if you get busy with reloading, you'll soon discover that you don't remember that load that you did that worked really well. Gosh, what was my powder charge? What bullet was that anyway? And oh man, what was my crimp? You know, so yeah, from the get-go, get yourself a notebook and write everything down.
Yeah, you won't be able to repeat it if you don't. I have a
Right.
notebook for all my stuff.
Yeah, I started keeping a notebook and I write everything down, but you get into that standard deviation stuff. That's math I can't do even if I take my shoes off. So I'm
That's
lost.
a history teacher for you.
Yep.
No, it's that 11th toe he's got. It
Yeah.
throws off the count.
Yeah.
Eyes are crossed, 11th toe. Yeah.
Yeah, I keep a little notebook in my range bag, and I jot everything down. And when I get back to the bench, I've got a sheet, my reloading sheet with all my information on that load. I've got a big section of notes, and I write right in there. A lot of times I'll take the target and I'll clip it in there and staple it in, and I can go back to that. I've got the number on my load listed on every box of ammo that's that load, and I can refer back to it and know exactly what everything is.
So why is it sometimes you get a high standard deviation but small groups sometimes? You missed them just right.
That
No, I
might
think
not be far off the truth in some cases.
well, I think CW answered that pretty good when he said, you know, you don't notice it so much at 100 yards, but then when you start going out further and further, that's when I've had the same thing. That's why I brought this up tonight, because now that I've got a range that I can go to that's 3 hours away, that's 1,000 yards, and we're going to be doing the dead zero thing, and that's when this extreme spread and all that is starting to become a big deal.
That's why I used a 22 long rifle as an example, because it's low velocity and everybody can know that difference in velocity is really going to be shown. But if you'd use the converse side, you take a 22-250, let's say, and you're shooting at nearly 4,000 feet per second, and you lose 200 feet per second, and you're shooting at 100 yards, you're not going to notice the difference. It's just not going to make as big a difference, because the variable there is velocity, and your velocity is so high, the percentage difference that 200 is on a 4,000 feet per second load is infinitesimally small compared to 1,000 feet per second and a 200 feet per second drop, which is 20%.
Yeah,
Even
exactly.
difference. That's why that it makes a big difference for some and not for others. It's all math. It's all math.
It's that
People
dreaded
say
thing
it's not-
everyone hated in school, but now we all use it.
Yeah, isn't that
Yeah.
right?
we
We avoided it in school like the plague. Didn't want nothing to do with it. And now we're sitting at a range in the wind with your pad flapping everywhere, trying to find your pen to write stuff down and do the math.
Yeah,
The angle of the dangle.
that's it.
Yeah, it's time for pastime for the verse of the week. Are y'all ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, I've got two. Ashley A shared one with me earlier this evening. Let me see if I can find that. And the reason I wanted to share her the verse that she shared with me is because without this verse, nothing else of what we've been talking about makes any sense. And that's Proverbs chapter 9, verse 10 says, Fear the Lord, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. So what we've been talking about, the Beatitudes, makes no sense if you don't have that fear of the Lord and seeking his face, seeking his wisdom, knowing that he is holy and understanding that. So and we're just going to keep going on in Matthew chapter 5 because Walter said so. After Jesus finishes the Beatitudes, this is all from the Sermon on the Mount. He starts into a paragraph there that I like to refer to as salt and light. It says, You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is then good for nothing but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. That's deep.
Oof.
Yeah, it is, and I think that one coupled with the next two or three verses that are in there are telling us, saying, hey, it's up to us, it's up to men to light the way for everybody else. It's up to the followers of Jesus to be the light, and that if you're not going to do that, then what good are you? You know, that's kind of what I feel like that's leaning towards in meaning. You know, if the salt loses its flavor, then what are you going to do with the salt? You throw it away. You know.
In other words, yeah, God puts us, his children, here on the earth to be the seasoning. We are supposed to make life more flavorful, more pleasing to him especially, and to those that are seeking his ways. But if we lose our seasoning, how can you season salt? You can't
Right.
season salt. Salt is a seasoning.
Right. So, you know, if the salt itself loses its ability to provide that seasoning, then what good is it? You just throw it on the ground, and men are going to stomp all over it. You know, so be the seasoning, be the flavor, you know, be the light, show the way, you know, and if you're going to be the salt, don't be the salt, but not share the spice, you know, be the light. You know, he says further on, and said, you wouldn't light a candle and put it under a bucket, would you? I said, no, you're going to light the candle, put it on a candlestick, and light up the whole room with it. You know, so be the spice and be the light and show the way. I think that's what those couple verses are about. I like those two.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we don't smoke salt, Tommy boy. Oh, you mean smoke it? Yeah, okay. I think I get it. But yeah, very good. Hillbilly, you got any comments? Anybody else got any comments?
Hillbilly says
I
that since my foot made me stumble and I need to cut it off and throw it away.
I put a verse out there for Walter.
That did come to my mind at one point this week.
Yeah.
So next week we'll have the light verses.
Yeah, those are worth talking about for sure. I think I like them.
But yeah, I mean, I agree with what you guys are saying. I mean, their salt, adds so much, even if you're talking about, things in real life, and once if that salt loses the flavor, it's no good, then you need to figure out something different. You need something that's going to basically, you need some new salt. I don't know how else to say that. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, what you have is ruined. You got to throw it out and get some more. All right, so that's the verse of the week. Thank you guys for your help, and hope that meant something to somebody. And anytime you want to talk about the verse of the week or anything else, just don't hesitate to get in touch with me or anybody or Walter. You can get in touch with me at georgiashootingconnection@gmail.com or jh586sw@gmail.com. And we'd love to talk to you about that. All right, so what's next? We got about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll have to clear the deck for Gizzard Gary.
We talked about a lot of stuff. Anybody out there in the side chat got any questions? Bama Dad earlier was asking about a lead pot thermometer, wanting to know if that Lyman digital one was any good. Any of you guys use that one? I've never have. I just have an analog one. Mark has used it. So
Yeah, mine's the analog, old style dial.
yep.
Sorry, I was muted. I've really had a lot of good luck with that Lyman digital one. Being fairly inexperienced, I was running my pot way too cold, and I thought I was running it way too hot. And now I found here in the last few months, a little more time, a little more experience, a couple of more molds. I found I'm 200 degrees low, and get her heated up. I'm not quite getting frosty bullets, but I'm starting to get some real nice, clear, clean bullets. The molds are heating up a lot quicker and producing bullets faster. So that digital's been a big help to me.
Yeah, and the digital ones are less expensive than the analog types. You wouldn't think so, but they are. That an analog lead thermometer is $70 or $80, and I think that Lyman unit. You remember what you paid for yours, Mark? I don't know, $30, $40 or something.
Yeah, it couldn't have been but $40, and a 9-volt battery.
High Boy says he likes it. The Lyman one.
When you guys talk about thermometers, do you use the same thing as, like, say, for instance, cooking, I own the restaurant, and you always keep 3 thermometers because, just like airplanes at 3 different GPSs or whatever, because, if you got 2 reading the same and one's off, what kind of run off of.
Right.
But is it not that critical for you guys or not?
It can be critical with lead casting. A difference of plus or minus 20 degrees when you're up there around the 700 degree mark, it can make a big difference in how your mold behaves and how the bullets turn out. So, for those of us that are using a PID controlled lead pot, they've got a digital readout of what the temperature setting is. And that may or may not be correct. And I have two of those, you know, a Lyman pot and an RCBS pot, and they both read differently. When I have them both set at 700 degrees and I stick my analog thermometer into them, the analog thermometer says, no, they're not at the same temperature. One's 10 degrees hotter than the other. So yeah, you gotta sort of pay attention to that. It's almost like, who do you trust? You know, do you trust the digital one or do you trust the analog one? The answer to that one is maybe a little bit different than cooking would be, but you find the temperature setting on your pot that produces good bullets, and you write that down for that mold, regardless of what the actual true temperature might really be. You know, what you want is the performance, and if it performs well when that readout says 700, good. You know, maybe it's really 690 or maybe it's really 720, but what you want to know is what's the reading got to be to give me the bullets that I want with that mold. So
Yeah, I've got the old Seiko pot that actually has temperature kind of markings on it. They're fairly close, but that little Lee pot just has numbers. So you kind of try to aim for somewhere between 5, 6, or 7 and figure out what does best for that mold. And you can tell by looking at the bullets if they're coming out with nice clean edges, if they're coming out frosty, if they're coming out rounded off, they're there's not something right. So you just got to try to record that, keep track of it, and even if you don't have 1, 2, or 3 different exact measurements of the temperature, whether it's that digital or an analog or just that dial with numbers on your pot.
Yeah. And during your casting session, if you notice that your bullets are frosty or they're wrinkly, you adjust the dial on that Lee pot until that situation changes, and it may take 2 or 3 different moldfuls or more than that even, to affect that change. But if it's, if what you've got is that Lee pot, and many of us, probably all of us who cast, either still use that pot or started off with it, and we're able to make it work just fine without ever really knowing for sure what the temperature exactly was in there. You found the spot on that dial that gave you the bullets that you wanted, and that's what you ran with till the pot got low and it started getting too hot and you had to turn it down.
Well, with that welder, I use the Lee bottom pour 20 pot, and I've got the temperature set. I got it with a thermometer where I wanted it, and I never let the pot go below half. I never let it get below 10 pounds in it. Once it starts getting down there, I start adding ingots. Let it sit for a few, stir it up nice, and then continue pouring. So you can find consistency without a bunch of gadgets.
Yep, exactly.
Just pay attention to what it's doing. Because I notice as it gets down, towards 10 left in the pot, they start getting a little funky. They don't feel quite as well. It's getting too hot. So I just cool it down with more lead. If all else fails, add more lead.
Yeah, throw some of your sprues in there. They're like little ice cubes. Cool that pot down pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, just pay attention to what you're doing. Get to know your equipment.
Yeah, exactly.
Not at Steve, not more than about 10 minutes. Yes, it is, Mama, Dad.
It's going to vary. It depends on what your pot is. If you've got an old pot like what Mark's talking about, those pots will push 850 degrees. If you've got a newer pot that simply will never get there, it's going to take a different amount of time to get the temperature you're looking for if you turn it up. So just keep checking it until you get an average of what you want, and then you're there. Gene's idea of adding lead to cool it down is a good one, because it always happens when you throw your sprues back in and you got to wait for it to come back up to temperature. Well, because it dropped. So if you got to drop the temperature, you think you're too hot, that's a good way to do it. But if you're mixing alloy in your pot, know that you've also changed your alloy. If your ingots are what you're casting, you don't have to worry about that.
Right. And as to whether or
It's kinda
not
like-
frosty bullets mean they're too hot, not necessarily. It means they probably are hotter than they need to be. But, things start to happen when the pot temperature and the mold temperature both are too hot. One is that you'll start tearing the bases of your bullets out when you push the sprue plate over. The mold will take a long time for the sprues to frost over in the first place, and the bullets may stick in your mold and not want to come out. Those are all things that are sort of happen when things get too hot. So generally, if they're not frosty, if they're up close to that frosty point but not frosty, that's not a bad place to be, because you have issues when they get too cold too.
So it's kind of like cooking fish in a deep fryer. You got five fillets in there and your oil's just right. You need to keep that consistency.
Yeah. Good
All right,
analogy.
guys. I hate to butt in and break up the party, but we got to clear out of here pretty quick. I was going to type this, but Chris Lang, that's what we all strive to get is tire weights, used wheel weights that are lead. So absolutely. Who will say goodnight first? Mark?
Sure. Well, I don't have too much planned for this coming week. I do have the last component I needed to do some loading of 41 Magnum. I got my sizer in today, so I'm going to be putting together maybe a dozen or two loads of that and taking them to the range whenever I can, maybe on Sunday. And that'll be my loading for the week. A couple of projects for leather coming out maybe later in the week, and that's kind of what I got coming on. Hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving. Get together with your family. Tell everyone that you love them, because you don't know how much time you have. Been a wonderful evening. Been great to be here. Thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you for joining us, man. We look forward to seeing you every week. Scotsman.
All right, let me address a comment real quick first. Johnny 1982 was asking if when the lead gets overheated, will it change the weight? Generally, I don't think that's going to change the weight that much, but you do want to make sure you're stirring your pot every few pours and keeping that antimony and everything all mixed up correctly, because that will affect your weight if you just keep on going and going and going and don't stir the pot. You will see a big difference, and I found that out back when I first started, and I was casting some 44s, and I was getting 20 to 25 grains difference because I didn't stir the pot. So just pay attention, about every 5 pours or so, go back and stir it up, mix it up. Appreciate being here. Good seeing everyone out there. Good chat, lots of good conversation. For anyone who hasn't seen this yet, because you guys haven't seen this yet, coming up,
Hold
we
on.
have
Challenge
another
point?
Battle of the Beard coming up. And so we have a prize. And thanks to our good friends over at Rad Labs 3D, that'll be the challenge coin that you guys can win. So
Very cool, brother.
we're actually going to have 3 people this time. And so we're just waiting on one. They are dealing with some things. So once they get taken care of, we'll get that scheduled out. But going forward, we will have challenge coins for Battle of the Beards. Other than that, man, appreciate being here. Good seeing everybody. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, brother. Chris from the 740. You got anything coming up this week? You always do.
Yeah, we're gonna have a fun week. Thanks for the invite. Had a great time hanging out with you guys tonight, and the side chat was awesome. I also want to thank everybody that watched on my side that came over and joined the chat over here, and I hope everybody subscribed to Georgia Shooting Connection. We're doing the Wednesday night live chat. Jamie's going to be on. CW's coming on. Gene's coming on. I'm going to actually be doing a premiere of a video before we go live, and that's going to lead into our discussion Wednesday night. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's called the Thanksgiving Eve chat. We may run a little late since most of us probably won't have to get up and go to work on Thursday. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. So, Jamie, thank you for the invite, and had a great time tonight.
Thanks for being here, brother. You're always welcome. We miss you when you're not here. Mr. Gene, reloading from the hot pot. What you got coming up, man?
Oh, well, first, thanks for having me on. I definitely, I learned a lot tonight. I'm very grateful to be part of this wonderful family we have. Very fabulous. Let's see. I've got my first indoor USPSA shoot tomorrow. So hopefully I have some good luck there and have a good day. Be praying for that. That's for sure. I need all I can get. Everybody, please pray for me. Just going to try to have a good weekend, and I hope everybody else does the same. That's all I got.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here, brother. We appreciate you so much. And,
Thank you, sir.
What's Hot Pot's got is taking off, man. That's pretty cool.
I'm having a great time with it. And it's really got me looking for odd things at work now.
Cool.
And my little bucket I got over here, it started to get down, but it just keeps growing and growing for future little episodes. So love to keep it going.
Cool. Very cool. So thanks for being here, brother. And they're talking in the side chat about Mario. I don't know if he's okay or not, but yeah, let's keep Mario in our prayers this coming week for Thanksgiving. Walter, what you got coming up, brother?
Well, we had a Free the Few video today over on Rumble. That's a reloading series. It's not about casting. It's just all about reloading some of the different tools and equipment that I use. Today was episode 11 of that. We'll have Moldy Monday coming up next Monday, and then I've got several new firearms here in the house that I haven't shown anybody. So I think I'll just start doing some bench top reviews of those, so you guys can take a look. And I'll try to get some of those this week done, since I'm not going to be able to go to the range. But that's kind of where I'm going. I'm going to heal up and work on getting mobile again and getting my face worth looking at again. Not that it was worth looking at before. I appreciate being here. This is a great family to be a part of. It's always fun for me to interact with you folks over there in the side chat. It's just a good thing all the way around. This is a good place to be on Friday night.
Thank you, and thank you for being here, and for all you add to our conversation, man. And prayers for Walter for a complete and speedy recovery. Thanks again, Walter. Mr. American Hillbilly Up. What you got,
buddy?
I know you're fixing to run off over there to Gary's.
Yeah, I'll be heading over there real quick. Man, thank you so much for having me. Always love these Friday nights. You guys are just awesome. Of course, prayers out to Mario. Don't know really what's going on. Also, prayers to Walter. I know these women in his neighborhood are probably having fit right now. This door's locked and the garage door's down, but pray for them too, that Walter gets better. And I will be making a video for you, buddy. I will get that done as soon as possible. And tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern, we got guns, beer, and therapy. So if you guys ain't done nothing, make sure you jump over and check that out. I got videos coming out, some reviews and stuff, some new stuff to the channel. So I'm really, really excited about that. And I just want to tell everybody, man, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Don't be arguing and fighting with your family. Enjoy the wonderful food. Be thankful for being together with your family or friends, or even if you're just going out to the restaurant. Make somebody's day better, will you? And be thankful for it.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here, man. We enjoy you. And appreciate you being here. Mr. CW.
I just wanted to thank everybody for stopping by. We really have a good time, and we had a really good show tonight. Lots of good participation. I wanted to mirror Johnny's comment and send prayers out to Mario. I think he's okay. He had a video today. He was just bothered by some of the events going on in Virginia, and he had a video, so you want to check that out. I want to remind everybody it's Thanksgiving coming up, and I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And like Hillbilly said, leave politics and religion in your pocket. Just remember you're with family, and talk about family and their lives, and enjoy getting together with them, because you probably haven't seen them in a while, especially in the days we live today, where we're a little more to ourselves with the COVID going around. And speaking of such, I got a text from James Pugh. He is tested positive, so think of some kind thoughts for him. I think he's okay, but he does have COVID now. So, and prayers for Walter. Papa's place. Walter took a spill and scuffed his face up a little bit and broke his kneecap, if you can believe that. So he's on the mend, and that's why he's not showing us his girlish figure. He's hiding himself for later. I don't know what I'll have for videos, but I'll certainly think of something. It's deer season, so we're out in the woods and having a really good time. I had a good Wednesday, and that was my opening day, and we've been seeing some lots of activity out there. So I'll be probably having more videos along those lines. Couple of things going on, but nothing major. My latest thing is the 300 hammer, and I don't know how far I'm going to go with it. I don't know if it's going to be right away or not, but I think it's a caliber I want to get involved with. I've been doing a couple of shorts on it. If you've been watching those, it's a neat caliber. So maybe coming along here next. As Chris said, Wednesday night we're going to do a pre-Thanksgiving show. Tune in for that if you can, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Chris's channel. It's going to be a good time. And as everyone has said, remember today is the present. Tomorrow is not guaranteed, and yesterday is history. So make sure those people in your life that you love know you love them. And Jamie, what do you got coming up?
I'll be hopefully doing either some deer hunting or some 308 videos, and got to get to the range. We'll make a range report out of the 308 thing after we've gone through everything we've done. I just want to tell everybody on the panel and in the side chat that we love you and we care a lot about you. And if we didn't, we wouldn't be here every single Friday night to share our time with you, because your time is the most precious commodity you have. The Lord blesses you with a finite amount, and you don't know what that is. So invest in the people that mean a lot to you with your time. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. If you think you don't have nothing to be thankful for, look around. It's not hard to find somebody that's got things a whole lot worse than you do. So with that, GGW, go Dogs. Tennessee hate week around here, but we love our Tennessee folks too. So that's really crazy. What am I saying? We got to get out of here. We hope the Lord blesses y'all all real good, And if he's willing, we'll see you next Friday night at 8 o'clock. Say good night, y'all.